The sterile scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, a constant, suffocating reminder of the hospital's losing battle. Eun-woo sat beside his son's bed, the rhythmic beeping of the machines a cold counterpoint to the frantic rhythm of his own heart. Min-jun, his bright, energetic boy, was now a pale shadow, his small body swallowed by the crisp white sheets. The doctors had been blunt, their words echoing in the hollow chambers of Eun-woo's soul. "We've done everything we can," they'd said, their faces etched with a mixture of pity and resignation. "There's nothing more we can do." Eun-woo refused to accept it. He spent every waking moment by Min-jun's side, reading him stories, singing his favorite songs, whispering promises of a future they might never see. He clung to the faintest glimmer of hope, a tiny ember flickering in the face of overwhelming darkness. He pleaded with the doctors, researched obscure treatments, consulted specialists across the globe, all to no avail. Min-jun's rare condition, a genetic anomaly that attacked his immune system, was relentless. Outside the hospital walls, spring was blooming. Cherry blossoms painted the landscape in hues of pink and white, a cruel irony to the sterile, lifeless environment within. Eun-woo noticed old Mr. Kim, the hospital gardener, tending to the small patch of flowers near the entrance. Mr. Kim was a quiet, unassuming man, his hands gnarled and calloused from years of working the earth. He always wore a gentle smile, a silent reassurance in the face of suffering. One day, as Eun-woo sat slumped on a bench near the garden, Mr. Kim approached him cautiously. "He's a strong boy," Mr. Kim said, his voice raspy but kind. Eun-woo looked up, surprised. He hadn't realized anyone had been watching him. "The doctors, they say there's no hope," Eun-woo replied, his voice thick with emotion. Mr. Kim nodded slowly. "Doctors see what they can see," he said. "But sometimes what a person needs isn't medicine. Sometimes it's something else entirely." He paused, his gaze fixed on a vibrant red rose blooming in the sunlight. "Min-jun needs life, Mr. Cha. He needs to feel the sun on his skin, the earth beneath his feet, the scent of flowers in the air." Eun-woo looked at Mr. Kim, a flicker of something akin to hope igniting within him. "But he's too weak. He can't leave the hospital." Mr. Kim smiled, a knowing glint in his eyes. "Then we'll bring the world to him." He began to explain his idea, a plan so audacious, so improbable, that it seemed almost foolish. But in Eun-woo's desperate heart, it was the only thing that made sense. It was the only chance, however slim, that his son had left. Mr. Kim envisioned a garden, not just any garden, but a miniature Eden built within the sterile confines of Min-jun's hospital room. A self-contained ecosystem, a vibrant explosion of life designed to stimulate Min-jun's senses and, perhaps, awaken something dormant within his failing body. Eun-woo, initially skeptical, found himself drawn to the gardener's unwavering conviction. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble, but what else did he have to lose? The next few weeks were a flurry of activity. Mr. Kim, with Eun-woo as his tireless assistant, transformed the sterile room into a verdant sanctuary. They started small, with potted herbs and miniature flowering plants, carefully selected for their fragrance and visual appeal. Mr. Kim explained the importance of each element, the way the lavender could soothe, the rosemary could stimulate, the bright colors of the pansies could uplift. Eun-woo, who had spent countless hours poring over medical journals, now found himself learning about soil composition, sunlight requirements, and the delicate balance of nature. It was a welcome distraction, a tangible way to channel his grief and helplessness into something positive. He watched, mesmerized, as Mr. Kim coaxed life from the earth, his touch gentle and knowing. The hospital staff, initially curious, then concerned, eventually resigned themselves to the unusual project. They saw the change in Eun-woo, the renewed sense of purpose in his eyes, and they understood, on some level, the desperation that fueled his actions. Besides, Mr. Kim's reputation as a healer of sorts, a silent comforter to patients and their families, preceded him. As the garden grew, so did the atmosphere in Min-jun's room. The air, once thick with the scent of antiseptic, now carried the delicate fragrance of flowers and herbs. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the vibrant colors of the miniature ecosystem. Mr. Kim had even managed to rig up a small, self-watering system, mimicking the gentle rhythm of rain. Min-jun, initially unresponsive, began to show subtle signs of awareness. His eyes, once vacant and unfocused, would occasionally flicker towards the vibrant colors of the flowers. His breathing, though still labored, seemed to ease slightly. Eun-woo, fueled by these small victories, poured all his energy into the garden, tending to it with unwavering devotion. One afternoon, as Eun-woo was carefully pruning a miniature rose bush, he noticed Min-jun's hand twitch. He leaned closer, his heart pounding in his chest. Min-jun's fingers, pale and fragile, slowly curled around a fallen rose petal. Eun-woo held his breath, afraid to break the fragile connection. "Min-jun," he whispered, his voice trembling. Min-jun's eyes fluttered open, and for the first time in weeks, he focused on his father. A faint smile touched his lips. "Pretty," he whispered, his voice barely audible. Tears streamed down Eun-woo's face. He had heard his son speak, truly speak, for the first time in what felt like an eternity. He squeezed Min-jun's hand gently, his heart overflowing with a mixture of joy and disbelief. "Yes, my son," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "So pretty." Mr. Kim, who had been tending to a nearby herb garden, turned around, his eyes twinkling with understanding. He nodded slowly, a silent acknowledgement of the miracle that was unfolding before them. The garden, it seemed, was working its magic. The word, so small, so frail, hung in the air like the scent of the roses. Eun-woo didn't dare move, afraid the moment would shatter like glass. He simply held his son's hand, his gaze locked on Min-jun's face, searching for any sign that this wasn't a fleeting illusion. Mr. Kim approached slowly, his steps deliberate and quiet. He knelt beside Min-jun's bed, his presence a calming force. He reached out a weathered hand and gently touched Min-jun's forehead. "Welcome back, little one," he murmured, his voice filled with warmth. Min-jun's eyes drifted closed again, but the faint smile remained. He seemed more relaxed, his breathing a little less strained. Eun-woo watched, mesmerized, as his son slipped back into sleep, a peaceful sleep he hadn't seen in months. He turned to Mr. Kim, his eyes filled with unspoken questions. What happened?" he stammered, his voice hoarse. Mr. Kim smiled knowingly. He needed to connect, to feel alive again. The medicine helped, of course, but it wasn't enough. He needed something more, something primal. Eun-woo looked around the miniature garden, his eyes taking in the vibrant colors, the delicate textures, the fragrant scents. He understood. The sterile environment of the hospital, while necessary for Min-jun's physical well-being, had also been suffocating his spirit. The garden had breathed life back into him, had reminded him of the beauty and wonder of the world outside. The following days were a slow, gradual awakening. Min-jun began to spend more time awake, his eyes more alert, his responses more consistent. He would reach out to touch the flowers, to feel the texture of the soil, to listen to the gentle trickle of the water feature Mr. Kim had built. He even started to eat a little more, coaxed by the fresh herbs and vegetables that Mr. Kim grew in the garden. Eun-woo spent every waking moment by his son's side, reading him stories, singing him songs, and simply talking to him about the world outside. He told him about the bustling city, the towering mountains, the vast ocean. He painted vivid pictures with his words, trying to ignite Min-jun's imagination and fill him with a longing to experience these things for himself. Mr. Kim continued to tend to the garden, his presence a constant source of support and encouragement. He taught Eun-woo about the healing properties of different plants, about the importance of patience and perseverance. He shared stories of other patients he had helped, not with miraculous cures, but with small acts of kindness and understanding. One morning, Min-jun woke up with a newfound energy. He sat up in bed, his eyes bright and alert. "Daddy," he said, his voice stronger than it had been in months. "I want to go outside." Eun-woo's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Mr. Kim, who nodded encouragingly. He knew it was a risk, but he also knew that Minjun needed this. He needed to feel the sun on his skin, the wind in his hair, the earth beneath his feet. With the doctor's cautious approval, they carefully bundled Minjun into a wheelchair and wheeled him out into the hospital garden. It was a small, unremarkable garden, but to Minjun, it was a paradise. He gasped as he saw the trees, the flowers, the butterflies flitting among the blossoms. Eun-woo wheeled him slowly along the path, stopping to let him touch the leaves, smell the flowers, and listen to the birds singing in the trees. Minjun's face was radiant with joy. He was alive, truly alive, and he was experiencing the world in all its beauty and wonder. As the days turned into weeks, Minjun continued to improve. He gained strength, his appetite increased, and his immune system began to show signs of recovery. The doctors were astonished. They couldn't explain the dramatic turnaround, but they couldn't deny the evidence before their eyes. They ran more tests, adjusted his medication, and monitored his progress closely. But they all knew that the garden and Mr. Kim's unconventional approach had played a crucial role in Minjun's recovery. One day, the head doctor approached Eun-woo with a serious expression on his face. "Mr. Cha," he said, "we've been reviewing Minjun's case, and we've come to a decision. We believe that he is well enough to be discharged from the hospital." Eun-woo was stunned. He had dared to hope for this moment, but he had never truly believed it would happen. Tears welled up in his eyes as he hugged the doctor tightly. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for everything." The day Minjun left the hospital was a day of celebration. The staff lined the hallways, applauding as Eun-woo wheeled him out into the sunshine. Mr. Kim stood at the entrance to the hospital garden, a gentle smile on his face. Minjun reached out and took Mr. Kim's hand. "Thank you," he said, his voice clear and strong. "You saved my life." Mr. Kim squeezed his hand gently. "You saved yourself, little one," he said. "You just needed a little help remembering how." Eun-woo and Minjun returned to their home, a small apartment in the city. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. And now, it was filled with hope and the promise of a future together. The first thing they did was create their own garden, a small patch of green on their balcony. They planted flowers, herbs, and vegetables, just like Mr. Kim had taught them. Minjun took great pride in tending to the garden, watering the plants, weeding the soil, and watching them grow. As Minjun grew stronger, he started to venture out into the world. He went to school, made friends, and discovered new passions. He learned to play the piano, joined a soccer team, and even started writing his own stories. Eun-woo watched his son blossom, his heart filled with gratitude and wonder. He knew that Minjun's journey had been long and difficult, but it had also taught them both valuable lessons about the importance of hope, resilience, and the healing power of nature. He often thought about Mr. Kim, the humble gardener who had shown them the way. He visited him often at the hospital, bringing him flowers and sharing stories of Minjun's progress. One day, he asked Mr. Kim, "How did you know? How did you know that the garden would help Minjun?" Mr. Kim smiled knowingly. "I didn't know for sure," he said, "but I believed. I believed in the power of life, in the resilience of the human spirit. And I knew that Minjun needed to connect with something real, something tangible, something that would remind him of the beauty and wonder of the world." Eun-woo nodded, understanding. He had learned that sometimes the greatest miracles come not from science or medicine, but from the simple act of connecting with the natural world. And from the unwavering belief in the power of hope. The balcony garden flourished, a vibrant testament to Minjun's resilience and the unexpected power of nature. Eun-woo found himself drawn to it as well, the simple act of tending to the plants a soothing balm to years of worry. He learned the names of the herbs, the subtle differences between the flowers, and the specific needs of each vegetable. It was a world away from the sterile environment of the hospital, a world brimming with life and potential. Years passed. Minjun, no longer the fragile boy confined to a hospital bed, grew into a vibrant young man. He excelled in school, his intellect sharp and inquisitive. He continued to play the piano, his fingers dancing across the keys with a grace that belied his earlier struggles. The soccer team had become a source of camaraderie and joy, teaching him the value of teamwork and perseverance. And his writing, initially a way to process his experiences, blossomed into a genuine talent. Eun-woo watched with pride as Min-jun navigated the challenges of adolescence and young adulthood. He was always there to offer support and guidance, but he also knew that Min-jun had a strength within him that had been forged in the crucible of his illness. A strength that allowed him to face adversity with courage and grace. One crisp autumn afternoon, Min-jun approached Eun-woo with a serious expression. They were sitting on the balcony, surrounded by the now dormant garden, the air filled with the scent of decaying leaves. "Dad," Min-jun began, his voice unusually hesitant. "I've been thinking a lot about everything." Eun-woo nodded, his heart quickening slightly. He knew this conversation was coming. About the hospital, about Mr. Kim, about my illness. "It's okay, Min-jun," Eun-woo said softly, reaching out to take his hand. "You can talk to me about anything." Min-jun squeezed his hand, a grateful smile flickering across his face. "I want to do something," he said. "I want to help other kids like me." Eun-woo's heart swelled with pride. "What did you have in mind?" "I want to start a foundation," Min-jun said, his voice gaining strength. "A foundation that helps kids with rare diseases get access to the care they need. And that also focuses on the healing power of nature." Eun-woo was speechless for a moment, overwhelmed by the depth of his son's compassion and the clarity of his vision. That's an amazing idea, Min-jun," he finally managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. And so, the Min-jun Foundation was born. With Eun-woo's unwavering support and Min-jun's tireless dedication, the foundation quickly gained momentum. They organized fundraising events, partnered with hospitals and research institutions, and launched programs that provided financial assistance to families struggling with rare diseases. One of the foundation's most innovative initiatives was the creation of healing gardens in hospitals across the country. Inspired by Mr. Kim's wisdom, these gardens provided a tranquil space for patients and their families to connect with nature, to find solace and hope amidst the sterile environment of the hospital. Min-jun himself became the face of the foundation, sharing his story with audiences around the world. He spoke with eloquence and passion about the importance of early diagnosis, access to quality care, and the transformative power of nature. He inspired countless individuals to donate their time and resources to the cause, and he gave hope to families who had felt lost and alone. Years later, the Min-jun Foundation had become a global force for good, impacting the lives of countless children and families. Min-jun, now a renowned advocate for rare disease research and a champion of the healing power of nature, stood on a stage, addressing a crowd of thousands at a foundation gala. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the faces in the audience. He saw doctors and researchers, patients and families, donors and volunteers. He saw a community united by a shared purpose, to make a difference in the lives of those who needed it most. "I wouldn't be here today," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "if it weren't for the doctors who never gave up on me, for my father who believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself, and for a humble gardener who showed me the beauty and wonder of the world." He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached his eyes. And he added, "For the power of a garden to heal, to inspire, and to give hope." The crowd erupted in applause, a thunderous ovation that echoed through the hall. Min-jun stood tall, his heart filled with gratitude and a profound sense of purpose. He knew that his journey had been long and arduous, but it had also been incredibly rewarding. He had taken his pain and transformed it into something beautiful, something meaningful, something that would make a lasting difference in the world. As the applause subsided, Min-jun glanced towards the back of the hall. He saw Eun-woo standing there, a proud and loving smile on his face. Their eyes met, and in that moment, they shared a silent understanding, a bond forged in the crucible of adversity and strengthened by the unwavering power of love. And somewhere, in a quiet hospital garden, Mr. Kim smiled, knowing that the seeds of hope he had planted so many years ago had blossomed into something truly extraordinary. The miracle wasn't just Min-jun's recovery, it was the ripple effect of that recovery, the countless lives touched by his story, and the legacy of hope he had created. It was a testament to the power of human connection, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring magic of the natural world. Min-jun stepped down from the stage, the applause still ringing in his ears. He was immediately enveloped in a hug by Eun-woo, a silent embrace that spoke volumes. Years of worry, years of hope, years of unwavering dedication culminated in this moment. "I'm so proud of you, Min-jun," Eun-woo whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you, Dad," Min-jun replied, pulling back slightly to meet his father's gaze. "You never gave up, not even when the doctors did." They walked together, a familiar rhythm in their steps, towards a quieter corner of the gala. Min-jun noticed Mr. Kim standing near a large window, gazing out at the city lights. He excused himself from Eun-woo and approached the older man. "Mr. Kim," Min-jun said, his voice filled with warmth. "It's so good to see you." Mr. Kim turned, his eyes crinkling at the corners as he smiled. "Min-jun, look at you. A beacon of hope for so many. I always knew you had it in you." "You helped me see it," Min-jun said sincerely. "You taught me that healing comes in many forms, not just from medicine." Mr. Kim chuckled softly. "The garden merely provides the space, the opportunity. The true healing comes from within." He paused, his gaze becoming more serious. "But you know, Min-jun, there's still work to be done." "I know," Min-jun replied, his voice resolute. "The fight for those with rare diseases is far from over. There are still so many who need help, so many who feel lost and alone." Mr. Kim nodded approvingly. "Then you must continue to be their voice, their champion. And never forget the lessons you've learned along the way." As the evening drew to a close, Min-jun found himself reflecting on his journey. He thought about the countless hours spent in hospital rooms, the fear and uncertainty that had once consumed him, the unwavering love and support of his father, and the simple wisdom of a humble gardener. He realized that his illness, though a source of immense pain and suffering, had also been a catalyst for profound growth and transformation. It had given him a purpose, a reason to fight, and a deep appreciation for the preciousness of life. The next morning, Min-jun woke up with a renewed sense of determination. He knew that the Min-jun Foundation had made significant strides in recent years, but there was still so much more to accomplish. He spent the day meeting with his team, brainstorming new initiatives, and strategizing ways to expand the foundation's reach. One of his top priorities was to establish a global network of healing gardens in hospitals and care facilities around the world. He envisioned these gardens as sanctuaries of peace and tranquility, where patients and their families could escape the sterile environment of the hospital and reconnect with the healing power of nature. He wanted to bring the beauty and wonder of the natural world to those who needed it most, to provide them with a space to find solace, hope, and inspiration. He also wanted to increase funding for research into rare diseases. He knew that early diagnosis and access to quality care were crucial for improving outcomes, and he was determined to ensure that all children with rare diseases had the opportunity to live long, healthy, and fulfilling lives. In the following years, Min-jun continued to work tirelessly to advance the cause of rare disease research and advocacy. He traveled the world, sharing his story with audiences large and small, inspiring countless individuals to donate their time and resources to the Min-jun Foundation. He met with world leaders, urging them to prioritize rare disease research and healthcare on their national agendas. He became a leading voice in the global health community, advocating for policies that would improve the lives of those affected by rare diseases. The Min-jun Foundation expanded its programs and initiatives, providing financial assistance to families struggling with medical expenses, funding research into new treatments and therapies, and supporting the development of innovative diagnostic tools. The foundation also launched a global awareness campaign to educate the public about rare diseases and to promote early diagnosis and treatment. As the years passed, Min-jun's health continued to improve. He still faced challenges and setbacks, but he learned to manage his condition with the help of his doctors, his family, and his unwavering determination. He embraced life to the fullest, traveling the world, pursuing his passions, and making a positive impact on the lives of others. One sunny afternoon, Min-joon found himself back in the hospital garden where his journey had first begun. He sat on a bench, surrounded by the vibrant colors and fragrant scents of the flowers and plants. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face and the gentle breeze on his skin. He felt a profound sense of peace and gratitude. He opened his eyes and saw a young boy sitting nearby, his face etched with worry. Min-joon recognized the look in the boy's eyes, the fear, the uncertainty, the feeling of being lost and alone. He approached the boy and sat down beside him. "Hi," Min-joon said gently. "My name is Min-joon." The boy looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. Are you the Min-joon from the foundation?" Min-joon smiled. "I am. What's your name?" "David," the boy replied softly. "It's nice to meet you, David," Min-joon said. "What brings you to the garden today?" David hesitated for a moment, then said, "I'm sick. The doctors don't know what's wrong with me." Min-joon nodded understandingly. "I know what that's like," he said. "I was very sick when I was younger." David looked at Min-joon with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Did you get better?" "Yes, I did," Min-joon replied. "It took a lot of time and effort, but I got better. And you will too." He spent the next hour talking to David, sharing his story and offering words of encouragement. He told David about the importance of staying positive, of believing in yourself, and of never giving up hope. He told him about the healing power of nature, of the importance of connecting with the natural world and finding solace in its beauty. As the sun began to set, Min-joon stood up to leave. He reached out and shook David's hand. "Remember, David," he said, "you are not alone. There are people who care about you and who want to help you. And never forget the power of hope." David smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Thank you, Min-joon," he said. "You've given me hope." Min-joon walked away, his heart filled with warmth. He knew that his journey was far from over, but he also knew that he was making a difference in the lives of others. He had taken his pain and transformed it into something beautiful, something meaningful, something that would continue to inspire hope for generations to come. Years later, the Min-joon Foundation continued to thrive, expanding its reach and impact around the world. Min-joon himself remained a tireless advocate for rare disease research and advocacy, a champion of the healing power of nature, and a beacon of hope for those who felt lost and alone. He often returned to the hospital garden, the place where his journey had first begun. He would sit on the bench, surrounded by the vibrant colors and fragrant scents of the flowers and plants, and reflect on all that he had accomplished. He knew that his life had been a miracle, a testament to the power of human connection, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring magic of the natural world. And somewhere, in a quiet corner of the world, Mr. Kim continued to tend his garden, knowing that the seeds of hope he had planted so many years ago had blossomed into something truly extraordinary, a legacy of love, compassion, and healing that would continue to inspire generations to come. The garden, once a simple patch of green, had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, beauty and healing can always be found. And Min-joon, the boy who had once been given up on, had become a living testament to the power of hope, the unwavering strength of the human spirit, and the enduring magic of a garden.